25 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. If you're a fan of Andrew Gross, and I know you've been waiting for this interview, Andrew is one of the heavy hitters. He is the author of so many great novels. This one is called The Saboteur, and this is based on a true story. It's a New York Times best-selling book already. Andy Gross. Good morning, Andy. How are you? Thank you for being on the show.
Good morning, Larry. How are you doing?
Good.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Where are you today?
I'm not in the path of totality. I'm outside of New York, and wishing I was in Westchester County.
I think everybody in the country knows the percentage. You know, we know ours is 8. We have an 86%. You know,
you have an 86. Well, then you're in good place. No, I don't know. I have another radio thing later in the day, and I'm just going to conduct it outside and sit there. And I guess it's something you can't say that often, that you conduct an interview in a solar eclipse. But I don't think we're anything close to that.
Can I tell you that when I was in school, it was a long time ago, by the way, I was not the best history student. But I was always better when somehow somebody decided to write a story. In other words, it's true, but I learned from storytelling. It was an easier way for me to learn. I guess today kids learn through videos. So that was my video of the day, and back in the 60s. So I actually am learning from your book. I haven't finished it, to be honest. There's so many books we have to read here. But it is, and I can see why you are a favorite of your readers. But this is based on a true story, and I'm just so fascinated by it. And I wonder if I would pass the test in my history class if I read the book.
Well, if you read the book, you would on this subject, yes. But you don't have to. The good news is you don't have to be tested anymore in life. So
I know.
And I'm certainly not going to do it. No, look, I write suspense novels, and I made a little pivot a couple of books ago, and I wanted to set my books in historical times that involved sort of moments of moral choice, you know,
right.
and so I've written 2 World War II stories, and this is the second. And in researching the first one, The One Man, I guess the common thread between these 2 books were the Nazi attempts to create an atomic bomb and Allied attempts to get ahead of them. And so I came across this story of such a heroic commando raid on a factory in World War II in Vemork, Norway, that was creating the compound of heavy water, which needed to be synthesized to create an atomic bomb. And realizing that the Nazis were upping their quantities of heavy water, this threw panic into the Allies, in London and in Washington, and they created this mission, this mission that was absolutely a suicide mission to put an end to that production.
So
and so I came across it and just said, this is so compelling, and no one really knows about this. I got to write about it.
Okay, is the person you talk about? Is that Kurt Nordstrom? Is that the person?
Well, the character. I mean, I created a fictional character based on a real person, Knut Hakelid, his name is.
Okay.
And basically because I'm writing a novel, and while everything that took place, there were two raids in this book. I mean, basically this is a story about a courageous Norwegian resistance fighter who has lost everything in the war. He's lost his fiancée, he's lost his regiment, he's lost his country, and who has to make a choice between his heart and his duty, as it falls on him to single-handedly prevent the Nazis from acquiring the decisive weapon of the war. And so it's not just a war story, it's a story of a moral choice, and it becomes a romance. But at the same time, it's one of those great adventure. I mean, if any of your readers remember, the Guns of Navarone, or Where Eagles Dare, or The Eye of the Needle. I mean, it's sort of one of those, a throwback to sort of a great, stirring World War II adventure story as well.
Had the Saboteur not been successful, I'm assuming he's successful.
No spoiler alerts
I'm
going
just assuming
on here
based
now.
on history. But I mean, would we have been the recipient of an atomic bomb? Would Germany have bombed us with an atomic bomb?
Well, I guess in truth, in actual history, no. They weren't as far along as everyone thought. But the point, of course, is that they thought the war hinged on this legitimately. I mean, Roosevelt and whoever got there first was going to win the war. And the truth is, at the very beginning, the Germans were very involved in what was known as the V2 and the V3 weaponry, which were guns that could shoot across the English Channel and rain incendiary hell on London, and these guided missiles from this place, their rocket facility, Peenemünde, but they were bombed. The Allies sort of bombed them out of existence, and it wasn't until Stalingrad fell that Hitler got panicked and said, we need to pull a rabbit out of the hat, I guess, and then sort of upped his atomic research. By that point, we probably had a lead on him, but no one really knew it, because if you think about it, all the great scientists were German, even the ones that worked in the United States.
Right,
a lot of them, other than Oppenheimer, were German, and a lot of them were Jews who were forced out of Europe. And if Germany had kept its Jewish scientific community, they probably would have been ahead for sure.
Well, but then we wouldn't have had any reason to fight them if they weren't killing everybody.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Wow, it's amazing. Were you a good history student, Joe?
Fair.
Yeah,
fair. I won't say good. But
I was only good when there was a story. I think this would be my tool still today.
That'll be your forte, as they say.
Well, I'll tell you what attracts me to history, because I'm a guy that for a lot of books wrote what you might be called suburban thrillers. Like in Florida. I mean, I actually have a place. I spend the winter in Florida. So I've written a couple that take place in Florida, a little south and a little east of where you guys are, and in Westchester, or Greenwich, Connecticut, and they were
my neck of the
always.
woods, yeah.
Is it?
I'm from New Haven, yeah.
All right, so right. So it was always sort of about, upscale people who would end up stepping into the wrong place and putting themselves at risk, and then all of a sudden their lives and family would fall apart. But I made a shift, and in the last couple of books, and in the book I'm also working on for the next one, I'm really writing about historical situations. And what attracts me, because you were talking about history, what attracts me to it is sort of what he wasn't a thriller writer, but Nathaniel Hawthorne said, which is that a hero needs a heroic time in which to operate, in which to exist.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of what I look for are the sort of stories that are compelling enough to set a great hero in. And I really think that both men and women will love this guy, Kurt Nordstrom. I think he's a guy that you would sort of like in your foxhole, and maybe in maybe in other places.
You got like the meat and potatoes right there, because it's history, and then you mold it into the book that you want. It's in the adventure that happens.
Well, that's what we do. That's
what I
like
alchemy that we do.
I like it.
I find it fascinating that there are people in our history, especially in times when heroes can become heroes, that become heroes and actually change the course of history. But there are many of them. There's not really one pivotal person that we can thank for winning World War II. It's all these guys. Like Kurt Nordstrom is represent. I can't remember the actual name of the guy that you said, but I mean,
Hakelid, yeah.
So
no, you're right. I mean, there was no one event. I mean, you could say, well, D-Day, was the decisive event, and then there are other people who say that it was the spy network that we uncovered in London, that the German spy network that allowed us to sort of, through the Enigma machine, if you remember, movies and whatever, that if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have won. I mean, and then there's the atomic research. Then there's this guy Hakelid who did this amazing act that I'm writing about. So there are a lot of things, and that's only, of course, in this theater. Then there's the Japanese theater, So
right, that's why it was a world. Oh, it was unbelievable. I hope we never see that again, but it looks like who knows what's going to happen. Andrew Gross is our guest. The Saboteur is the book. He sent me a nice hardcover copy. If you want the copy,
I like it.
That was sent to us, call me, and I'll put it on Patsy's desk. It'll be waiting for you. The rest of us have to go buy it. I did find it on Amazon. Andy, do you want to give us a website?
AndrewGrossBooks.com.
Easy enough.
Oh, finally, an easy one.
And I guess just if any of your viewers remember stories like Where Eagles Dare or the Guns of Navarone, I mean, this is really a sort of an old time adventure, stirring World War II story. So if they like that sort of thing, I'm sure they'll love this book.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like it already.
Thank you, Andy. I sort of feel like you've been on with us before. I don't remember all of our guests, but you sound so familiar. Thank you, Andy. Thank you for being with us today.
All right, you bet. Thanks for having me, guys.
Keep writing.
We'll be right back.
Will do. Bye-bye.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Looks like we'll have a fair amount of clouds today, along with a thunderstorm in the afternoon hours. The high 88 to 92. Thunder showers will die down tonight. Partly cloudy otherwise. Low 72 to 81. Tomorrow, sunny to partly cloudy with an afternoon thunderstorm. High of 89 to 92. And it looks like a couple thunderstorms Wednesday afternoon. High 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Feeling creative or looking for inspiration? The Appleton Museum of Art has something for you with a full schedule of studio art classes and workshops for adults, teens, children, and even pre-K. Classes begin as early as September and cover a broad range of subjects for all skill levels, including drawing, painting, clay, mixed media, sculpture, and more. For more information or to register, call 352-291-4455 or visit appletonmuseum.org.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
When we're stressed, we tend to take shallower breaths. If our brain isn't getting enough oxygen, it'll send signals to our body telling it to yawn deeply in order to get more air. Female Tinder users are 98% less likely to swipe right